Hello and welcome back, or welcome to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're taking a little break from guide making to take a wee look at some of the new missions in the 4.11 PTU. And in particular, we're going to look at how they feed into the Wikelo missions, offering an alternative for players to get Wikelo favours and unlock some of his cool trade items, including ships outside of purely Hathor. And since these missions are all PvE and carry a far lower chance of getting into PvP encounters, it does flesh out the pathway to acquiring higher grade items without necessitating PvP, which will surely be good news for a number of players. This is all in PTU, and I would say it's still an early build, and not all of the rewards are working, but we should still be able to take a look at how the new missions piece together, and how things should fit, even if we can't show the full loop just yet. So if that sounds good to you, then grab a cup of tea while I roll the intro, then let's get into it. To kick things off, let's start by getting Wikelo's wider array of collection missions unlocked, just by completing his first new-to-system contract. Apparently the Banu needs his morning fix, so I need to get him a pepper army, a coffee in a can, and 3 Tundra Copion horns, all of which were gathered with absolutely no mishaps. And upon taking this breakfast of champions to the Emporium and dropping them off, I can now take a much fuller look at the various collection missions that he has on offer, including a new starting point for getting Wikelo favours. It will now accept 50 mercenary scrip or council scrip for a favour, rather than the previous 50 Karenite gems in 4.1. These favours are then one of the key ingredients in his other hand-ins, where he offers ships, gear, and now also high-grade ship components. The Align and Mine Hathor gems, Karenite, Jaclium, and Saldinium, are still ingredients in a lot of the hand-ins, but they are joined by Ace Interceptor helmets, another ingredient acquired from the new missions. And the demand for the gems has greatly decreased, so it shouldn't represent quite as much of a barrier for players who may have felt locked out of Hathor by the PvP and org-centric nature of it all. So what are these new mission types then? Well, they largely fall into two categories. The Combat Gauntlet missions are advanced training offered by the new mission giver Gilly's Flight School. Gilly was actually a character from way back when who featured in the tutorial, so it's good to see him back. While the patrol and ambush missions are more standard mercenary fare, offered on the legal side by Foxwell with a criminal version also available through the Headhunters. In this vid, I've only really looked at the Foxwell version of the latter category, but the mission types are very much the same. Just with the Headhunters, you're likely to be set up to fight civilians and security forces, resulting in a crime stat if you're not careful. Rewards there are noted as being a bit higher to compensate you for this risk. These missions all offer a mixed reward of cash and Mercenary Guild scrip, or MG scrip. The Headhunters ones will offer council scrip from the Criminal Guild, but it essentially functions the same. And these guilds are two of the ones that were mentioned during CitizenCon, during the Giant 1.0 presentation, so it's great to see these starting to get fleshed out a bit. All of the missions make use of a bunch of new POIs added to the Stanton system, with many of the asteroid mining base assets that we've seen in Pyro being added in and around each of the planetary systems, and dotted around the near L1 and L2 Lagrange points. This just provides far more play area for the larger server populations, and gives us some interesting terrain to fight around rather than it just being in the blank open space. First up, let's take a quick look at the Combat Gauntlet chain. And this is relatively simple and comprises of 8 missions. Particularly in the early stages, it essentially acts as an advanced tutorial for players who've got to grips with the basics of the game and are looking to start racking up combat time. But for who maybe they need a little bit more guidance around combat mechanics like stealth, missiles, shield facings, etc. And at the later stages, with missions 7 and 8 pitting you against corvettes and capitals in the form of a Hammerhead and a Polaris, it gives groups and orgs some regular target practice against SC's larger ships. For some time within our org, we've been crying out for this sort of thing, as while flying around in a Polaris is a lot of fun, there's not really anything to give it some decent competition. So now with the infinitely replayable battle between another Polaris with a support fleet of Corsairs and fighters, we've got that on the regular now. As well as quite reasonable cash payouts, these missions also offer Merc Guild scrip, starting modestly with 1 scrip for Scenario 1, but going up to 16 for the Hammerhead in Mission 7 and 20 for the capital ship battles in Scenario 8. These missions, unlike some of the others that we've had in the past, can just be rerun as many times as you like, so they should prove to be a really good source of both cash and MG scrip, since you can chain them very easily. But if server performance is anything like PTU, which it admittedly rarely is, then you'll be wanting to bring a bigger boat to the Hammerhead fights and above. As well as the Gauntlet missions, we also have the new Patrol and Ambush missions from Foxwell or Headhunters, depending on your appetite for criminality. You'll also find the Foxwell ones under the Mercenary tab, while the Headhunters missions are in the Unverified section, also under the Mercenary category there. To unlock these, you will need to complete an introductory mission, but then you'll start to see Yellow Alert routine patrol missions which pay out 30k and 2 MG scrip, and Yellow Level Contract Ambush and Amateur, which pays 20k and 1 MG scrip, but to be fair is a bit quicker to complete. While you will accumulate Foxwell rep, the levels of these missions aren't actually connected to this, and are instead based on completing a set amount of the type. You need 5 of the earlier stages to unlock the next, and 10 successful completions of the final 2 to progress to the final stages. These missions have a really good feel to them. For patrols, you'll be sent out to check on 3 asteroid base locations, with a random chance encounter at each of them. On some, you'll simply need to wait while a scan is performed. On others, you need to investigate satellites to make sure they're not sneaky hostile ones. Some will spawn enemies for you to fight, and there's also a chance for a protect ship mission. The variety is extremely good in my opinion, and it makes chaining these missions together feel far from dull, even though they're essentially just rehashings of existing content. I would especially call out the sound design here, with the voice lines giving you a far more immersive feel than you get from existing missions. For the ambush mission type, you get to turn the tables on the bad guys and head to one of the locations to lie in wait. Power down the ship in the emission blocking gas cloud highlighted on the HUD, and wait for the target to appear before powering up and taking them out. Again, this mission type felt really atmospheric and immersive. So I haven't personally made it all the way up this chain yet, particularly since at some of the higher levels you start to get into proper fleet battles and you'll likely need a full crew to accomplish it. And if you're looking to make the most of these updates and are looking for folks to fly with, then please do pop into the Frontier Consolidated Discord. The link's just down in the video description, and we're always happy to help people get more into multi-crew action. At the highest levels of these missions, you'll even start to see Idrises spawning, which of course means stealing them is now going to be totally viable and regularly available. Not only will these missions pay out decent amounts of scrip, but there's also a random chance to get an ace pilot spawn amongst your adversaries. This is where you can farm those ace interceptor helmets that Wikelo's also after. Although unfortunately everyone that I've encountered has been bugged. It is still the PTU after all. Speaking of which, while the missions clearly pay out the aforementioned scrip, and this is undoubtedly the intended way to grind that resource, they aren't currently delivering it to you, so it remains to be seen exactly how this will be handled. In the mission description for Wikelo, he mentioned it being some form of metal, and while I haven't come across it myself, some members of my org have reported finding scrip in the cargo carrying ships that spawn during these missions. So it's also likely that that will be a way that you can farm it. I would imagine that scrip will either be delivered to your home location from where you can transport it to Wikelo, or potentially CIG will add Merc Guild offices where you can claim your reward. We'll just have to see how that pans out later in the PTU cycle as new patches come online. All in all, I would say that while this patch is still a fair way to go, it's got plenty of wrinkles to iron out, it is looking incredibly promising to me. And I'm truly delighted to see some rebalancing of the Wikelo collection demands, so that more PvE focused players have some more routes to acquiring ships and components. I think it also sets up very nicely for further development of the in-game player economy, with a logical trade of the Hathor gems for scrip and ace interceptor helmets between more PvP and PvE focused players. And I also hope that the advanced tutorial that we got in the form of the combat gauntlets gets extended to more of the guilds highlighted at SitCon, as I think this style of mission could be incredibly good for introducing players to other aspects of the game, like mining, salvage, exploration and racing. But we'll leave it there for today. Do please let me know what you think down in the comments below. Does this sound like your cup of tea? Are you happy to see the changes to the Wikelo requirements? Are you going to be jumping into the PTU when it gets more open to give it a go before live, or are you just going to wait for the full release? If you like what I do and you think I've earned it, then I would massively appreciate if you could like the video, and hit subscribe if you want to stay tuned for more as we head into the new patch. We'll be checking this all out in depth once it's fully fleshed out, and I'll be continuing with updates to my guide series to help newer players get to grips with all things SC. With that said, I just want to say thank you for watching to the end, and I look forward to seeing you next time.